Well, everybody, good to have you here on another Monday, a sodden Monday in the kingdom. But it won't dampen our spirits, will it, Luke Moore?
Mine are already dampened.
Are they?
Yeah.
He's got his shoes off.
So I just looked at Pete's computer and he's looking at Google images of Jar Jar Binks. So I know what Thomas
Jar Jar Binks in a bikini. Jar Jar bikini.
You glance at someone's laptop and you think, oh, he's probably got the probably got up to detail up or the running all
Yeah, did he not see the Croatia goals? No, it wasn't that.
Can you generally see my computer?
I could then for a second, yeah.
Do you remember
there are cameras on your computer? You know, like the manager cameras that they have nowadays in football?
Yeah.
Because we want to see that. Well, for differing reasons, there's always a camera on your laptop.
Would there be a football match that was not improved by Jose Mourinho popping his laptop full of Jar Jar Binks' sexy bikini pics?
Probably not.
Into the front of the camera.
Fortunately, we'll never know.
Right.
You just reminded me of when
yes.
Luke asked us to stop the show at one point last year because I was giggling because you sent me a photo of a sexy computer animated dog.
Yeah.
And so I just want everyone to know that he might do that again.
Marcus and I think our listeners deserve better, particularly ones who've paid for the show.
It's an international week, Luke.
That's fair enough. It wasn't then.
Yes.
International week.
Right. Yeah.
If you can get a photo, animated or real, of Lee Carsley in a bikini, then we'll talk.
All right.
Jar Jar Binks, who did he play for this international break?
Oh dear. Well, let's get to it then, everybody. Finland 1, England 3. England bounced all the way back.
What were you worried about?
Nothing.
Yeah.
So they're safe from relegation, which is a victory, I think you'll find. But yes, obviously they got beaten by Greece. But that's you can't keep the three lines down.
No. What I would say about this game is they did more of not totally everything that I like, but more of what I liked and less of what I didn't like. And when I saw that Trent Alexander-Arnold was going to start at left back, I was like, oh,
here we go.
Fuck. Why are you doing this?
Here we go again.
Why are you doing this?
Because Luke Shaw's injured, that's why.
It was a bit one for you and one for me. No, it's not how it works, Luke.
Exactly. Like Lee Carsley saying, Luke Shaw's in, you try finding a left back then. I can't find him anywhere.
That's right. I don't know. Trent was there. What do you think of Little Angel playing, Peter?
Little Angel,
Your favourite England player currently, I would say.
And your favourite Shaggy song as well.
Which one's that song?
Angel,
you're my angel.
You're my little angel.
I thought he was very good.
Yeah.
Well, he just improves every football team he's in, and England could have done with some improvement after their last outing.
The people at Manchester United disagree because they got rid of him.
Have you seen the bin fire at Manchester United?
Man United will make
how long
mistakes.
that to be mentioned. Yeah.
Once again, they are vindicated in their decision.
Have you seen Shawshank Redemption? That's him on the beaches of Lille.
Oh dear! But look, it was good to see him in there, Luke, after the mess that was the England team against Greece.
Was that not just Carsley going? You all were clamouring for me to just put everyone in. I put everyone in. This is what you get. Let's go back to playing.
I don't think
football.
a professional should be doing that. It's like,
especially one so softly spoken.
It's like us say reading a YouTube comment saying we don't talk enough about Leeds, then just doing 3 weeks on Leeds.
It's
not appropriate.
It's just arms in the air, just going, you are not entertained.
Right.
I don't think the tactic of doing the washing up badly...
Vish, that's also not the quote. The quote is, are you not entertained?
I know, but he wouldn't be saying that. I subverted the quote deliberately.
I don't remember.
And hence you should be entertained.
Why are you like this? Everyone here wants to know why you're like this.
I'm going back to Lee Carsley in a bikini.
Well, I don't believe Carsley said, are you not entertained? But I think that it's just as well, though, because if he is so susceptible to public opinion, just doesn't listen to this show, because Andy Carroll would have been on the bench.
Exactly. At least.
Good point.
On Angel Gomez, you know, Pete's right, and I think I would just add that...
About which bit?
Yeah, all of it.
All of it.
Yeah, all of it.
Give it him.
Give it Pete. Because it's so comforting to see an England player. You don't see it very often, possibly not ever that I can think of like that just takes the ball, lends it out, gets it back, lends it out, gets it back again. People can make runs like we saw with the Grealish goal.
He doesn't seem frustrated to not affect the game in a massive way. He's just like, I'll give it you.
Exactly, and it also feels like it frustrates Finland, because Finland get into their 5 and their 4 like to try and frustrate England, and Gomez, with the way he uses the ball, can pull them all over the place. Yeah. And he can create gaps by other players making runs off it, because they really know what he's going to do every time. I don't think there's a player like that around the England camp at all, really. There's no one of the profile of him. So in the right kind of game, it's a really good argument. I think it's a really good argument to make that he should really be in there.
Yeah. I mean, look, and obviously lovely assist for the Grealish goal, and Grealish is certainly enjoying playing for Carsley because he's playing, I think it's fair to say. But it wasn't a brilliant performance from England. I just get the job done.
It was much better, wasn't it?
It was better, but I mean, again, you don't want to look too into it, because look, let's be honest.
Just take the win and move on.
Yeah. Well, no, but despite my love for the Nations League, it is only the Nations League. I think if this was a qualifier, you might have seen them maybe take to it in a different way. But England, it's not as intense as it might be. Certainly in tournament games and so on and so forth.
No, it's fixture congestion.
Indeed. So you've got all those things to bear in mind. So to turn up and just breeze past the team is probably not going to happen. But the one worrying thing is though that despite all that, and this has happened in both games against Finland. Obviously we saw it against Greece. But that's kind of a little bit of an outlier, or is it? But in both games against Greece, Finland got at England. And I think that's the thing that a lot of people saying, oh, I see why maybe Southgate was so defence-minded. Well, I don't think you have to go back to that necessarily. But England do look very susceptible on the break and look very, very soft when it comes to their defence.
I think that was, certainly against Finland, it felt more about individual errors rather than like a structural issue.
Right.
Which maybe is promising, but I think having Trent at left back, I suppose the downside is exacerbated to a point because he's not naturally left-footed. There were a couple of times where he had to think about clearing the ball, if that makes sense, because he had to shift it onto his right foot. But I think broadly he was okay from what they wanted from him. I suppose Cole Palmer playing out wide right, that was a bit disappointing considering Kyle Walker was a right back behind him, and it felt like they didn't. Well, it felt like they'd never met really. But I suppose broadly it was quite good, just to like linger on Gomez a bit. I think one of the unique things that he has is he does a lot of the recycling and as Luke said, the giving and going, but he does it a little bit further forward, and it feels like it gives everyone time to make the runs they want to make, and even little things like it actually buys Kane time to like come back from holding up the ball. And I don't think he had a particularly brilliant game, but I think there were times where it really showed the value of having a front man who holds up the ball, because a couple of times it was clear to him and he just open the pressure valve.
Do you like Declan Rice in his more Arsenal style, playing for England, or do you prefer him to be? I mean, we've all talked up Gomez there. I understand that, and I agree with you. But Rice, if Gomez is playing, is more Arsenal Rice rather than the England Rice that we've seen, where he is that sort of fulcrum, if you like.
It's tepid. It's unseasoned. It's English rice.
English rice.
They're not going to cook it very well.
Oh yeah, they're not going to wash it first either.
Nah, exactly.
Enough of the bollocks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so
I like
quite simply don't have a rice cooker.
But so I think it's good because basically to earn the right to play that deep and break forward, you have to do the primary job, which is shielding your back four, being a physical presence in that kind of tier of that lowest tier of midfield. And if you can do the other bit, brilliant, because he picks and chooses when he wants to do it. I would actually say it's more West Ham Declan Rice than Arsenal Declan Rice. Because actually he sees a lot more of the ball when he plays for Arsenal. He's generally on about the halfway line. For England, it feels like he has more time off the ball in his own half, and he's good at that. But at West Ham, he did that and then would basically pick moments to think, right, I'm going to either carry the ball really far forward or I'm going to break into the box quite late because I've, maybe I've got Souček or Mark Noble next to me, so I can count on them to do the other stuff.
But was it more, because you alluded to the idea, Marcus, that the reason that happens because Angel Gomez was playing next to him, but was it not more to do with the fact that Finland just weren't really that good?
Well, sure, but I mean, indeed, in this particular game, but going forward though, if Rice is in there, I mean, people thought maybe Wharton might come in, but clearly
not a good start of the season though, has he?
Not a great start, but clearly Gomez is certainly now higher up the pecking order. I mean,
as long as Big Lee's involved, anyway.
Well, indeed. But despite who it is, if you have someone else in there who is happy to sit, if you like, whereas if Kobbie Mainoo, who played at the Euros, comes in, Rice has to make sure that his defensive duties are more at the forefront of his mind, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
So how do you like that England midfield kind of structure? Would you want to see Rice, because you saw this goal and towards the end of the game getting forward as again what he does for Arsenal a bit more.
Isn't it not really difficult to compare? I mean, because what I find, and Pete's just touched on this as well, is that there's so many different types of games and so many different types of opponent that actually really, when it comes to England, I mean, we talk about it because we watch the game and we love football and all the rest of it. But really, when it comes to England being judged, they're going to basically only ever really going to be judged on like a handful of knockout games in a tournament. And so when it comes to this stuff, you can experiment with it, and sometimes experiments go wrong, as we saw on Thursday.
It's shadow boxing, isn't it?
It feels a bit like that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Whereas this was a little bit more experimental, I suppose. because Trent played left back and Angel Gomez come in. And Angel Gomez, it's all very well us being wise about it now and talk about how great he is. None of us mentioned him at all leading up to the Euros. I probably didn't even get a single mention by any of us leading up to the Euros. So this is a new thing. So by its nature, it's also quite experimental. And really, when you set it against the context of the comments that Lee Carsley's made, and which I think we'll come on to on tomorrow's show, it's really like you're kind of looking at it and going, well, what is it? What is it? Because on Friday I said what I would prefer to see is for England to build up a consistent team that can, obviously injuries and tiredness notwithstanding, a consistent team where we go, that's the England team. And maybe there's one or two changes around because there has to be, but other than that, that's the team. And I don't think England are very good at forward planning, either on or off the pitch.
Yeah.
So, for example, I would take your question and say, what about Harry Kane? I mean, he's done nothing for ages now, right? He got subbed off yesterday, had quite a quiet game. He's not been fully fit. And he talks about how many times he has to come off for Bayern because he's not fully fit. Why are we playing him? Why are we playing him now when we could understand that actually he's not going to play forever? He's nearer the end of his career than at the start, and that's not even considering the idea that he could get a catastrophic injury, because any player could. Why are we not bedding a new striker? Do you know what I mean? We seem to fiddle around with things like full-back and holding midfield, but I just wonder if we actually really need to just settle on what you're going to settle on and go forward and make some forward planning as well, because they don't really do that at all.
Well, I mean, the reason why they play Harry Kane is because he's by far and away England's top scorer, and you saw in the previous game against Finland that England actually was 0-0 and he came, to it and got the goals. So I don't think Kane is really the focus here, because Kane is by far the standout forward that England have. For me, the question in midfield is, and a lot of people have been saying this, and I've been hearing a lot on the doorstep, Peter.
Right, okay.
That Jude Bellingham, people would like to see him playing more of that engine room role for England, if you like.
Well, I've been saying that for about 6 months.
Well, and you didn't say it there, though, so I thought I would
on
pick
any
up
doorstep. Say it on your doorstep and he might hear it.
And I think that actually England's thing is that, your two centre-halves are now really Stones and Mark Gay. I think people would agree on that. Right back, you've got an option there. Left back, let's hope it's a left footer at some point. But I think the questions are really in that central midfield. I think that is the thing that England need to kind of crack, really. And I'd love to see Bellingham playing in that more deeper role, and perhaps Palmer or Foden in front of him. And that would mean probably next to Rice. But I mean, Gomez has come in and people have thought, actually, he's quite a tidy player. But for me, that's the conversation with England. It's getting that balance in midfield right. Carsley thought, do you know what we'll do? We'll be like flipping Spain in 2010 or whenever it was, and when you fluid and move it, and it didn't work. Now, okay, it was only one game, but I think I speak on behalf of the nation to say I don't want to ever see that again.
Well, do you not think that he should have tried that in this match rather than against a Greece side who were obviously not buoyed, but obviously determined after what had happened to one of their players, and also they're a really, really good side at the moment, Greece. So he probably should have experimented against Finland and see where they were at, and got all applauded accordingly.
I find the whole thing quite confusing though, because like I say, I know we're going to come on to it in detail tomorrow, but like the situation that Carsley's in, it's kind of like we were sure when we saw the first squad that he named that he wanted the job.
Yeah.
But then he's been so confusing with the stuff he said since then, before and after games. Maybe not so much around the Greece game, because that was all about how terrible England were. But so it really does kind of make you wonder what we're supposed to make of all this.
Well, I wish,
and how kind of like determined he is one way or the other. If you know, like Lee Carsley's going to be judged for 2 or 3 things. Probably the handling of an injured Harry Kane, because that's that writes headlines. To how he sort of deals with being a statesman and how he deals with the size and scale of the job, and also how he deals with the 10-month ban for Jack Grealish, who said to Trent Alexander-Arnold, "I'm going to give you £500 if you score this." Technically, sports betting. Technically, he can't be doing it.
And he did score it as well.
And he did score it as well.
Shows you where his motivation lies.
I couldn't believe he had £500 in his sock.
I know.
Unbelievable.
People think it's calves, but it's actually rolls of
50s. Fat wads.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
Yeah. It was a great free kick by Trent, though.
It was a beauty.
Lovely one. We haven't talked about that. It was a lovely goal.
I mean, that's one of those ones, isn't it, where you people are thinking, I'm not sure about Trent. He does that, and you're going to go, he does have his uses.
Yeah.
He does divide opinions. Some people, like Gary Neville, called him the most talented English player during the summer.
He also said we're going to look back at this in 5 or 6 years' time and like laugh at how little he's been used.
Yeah, so you have that, and then you have Roy Keane.
Which gives you a good insight to Gary Neville's sense of humour, actually, doesn't it? That's the kind of thing he's looking forward to laughing at in 5
Gary's
years' time.
fine. He'd be all right.
And then you have Roy Keane, who quite literally said, I still can't believe how bad Trent Alexander-Arnold is defensively.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you have people who... He really does divide opinion, more so than any other English player, I might say.
Is there a place he could play that isn't defence or midfield? Put him up top.
There you
Do you
go.
know there's that guy? Did you ever? I mean, I'd never watched field hockey really, but
Who says that sentence?
And rightly so. We'll take that as read.
We
We'll
love
take that as
field
read.
hockey here. Vish.
whatever is actually called.
You're in England, you can just call it hockey.
Hockey,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But they, but you switch on during Olympics, and do you remember there used to be that guy they would always bring on
Penalty
for
corners.
penalty corners?
Yeah, he was brilliant.
Trent. But
Yeah.
No.
specifically when we get the ball in like a half space
Right, okay, yeah.
on the side, bring
he just
Trent
runs on.
I'm duty bound to say that we used to have this conversation, and I would often reference that guy, but wouldn't say Trent though. I'd say Andy Carroll for actual corners.
Could you-
And also, whenever we talk about this on the show, someone on Twitter or on the Discord pipes up that rule in hockey hasn't been present in the game for like 20 years.
Yeah,
now.
fine. That's when people stop caring about your shitty little
So
sport.
maybe they should bring it back.
Maybe 10.
No, it is. I think it's quite literally 20
It was
years.
the Field Hockey Premier League
Not
years of the
nearly-
90s.
well,
Classic Barclays Field Hockey. That's what we all talked about.
I might be going back to Sydney 2000 here. So
That's
you
what
might
I'm
be right.
saying.
Why don't FIFA and UEFA introduce time stop? It's not a free kick, it's not a penalty.
Yep.
At any point, the manager can press a big red button.
Like a Zach Morris timeout?
Yeah, he's allowed 3 times.
Well,
3
everyone
times.
stops.
3
Yeah.
times a match. Everyone stops, and
the
they're
manager
allowed to bring
come
on a
in.
player from that position to absolutely fucking hoof it.
Yeah.
Just to hoof it.
Just to hoof it. Just to fucking hoof it.
He's wasted that. He's wasted
He says
that.
that. You imagine, like, it's
Where's the ball gone?
It's 1-0. You're chasing the game. You're trying to get it to a draw because that's how my mind works.
trying to get it to a draw.
That's the best it can ever be. You try taking the penalties, right? And you just go bam, and you're going to try and shoot on goal, and the manager goes, and then we just position a player in front of where you're about to shoot.
You've got 3 wishes, and one of them is to hoof it.
Yeah. People, the whole game starts again. People are just confused.
Yeah.
Can you get the other ball on? Yeah, fine. Stop it. Hoof that one now.
Dear me. Shame for Dean Henderson that he didn't keep a clean sheet.
Yeah, and it was.
Yeah.
To be fair to Finland, I mean, it was. You could probably level a bit of poor defending at England's door because it's a set piece. You know, you want to be dominant in those kind of areas. But it was a really good near post header from a centre back. I mean, you've got on one level, you've got to enjoy that. It feels a bit like a dying art. I'll tell you who does it brilliantly well. Gabriel does it brilliantly well for Arsenal.
I'm a bit
But
offended.
that was a really good header.
I'm a bit offended that people keep calling Henderson Hendo. You can't stand a new Hendo.
Every
You can't start a new Hendo when the other Hendo hasn't endoed.
Before you know it, this
Oh, come on. Every Henderson... Look, Harry and the Hendos, for example. You know.
Maybe we're Hendo washing.
Yeah, there's a new trendo with Hendos.
There you go. It's all there. It all makes sense.
Do you know what they're thinking?
in the end.
If we call him Hendo enough, he might fuck off to Saudi Arabia, and we'll get another keeper.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because we've got loads. Yes, indeed. Well, as Luke has already said, him and I will be back tomorrow to assess Lee Carsley's performance as England manager and discuss the news that old Tommy Tuchel is reportedly in negotiations with the FA. It's all very tight-lipped.
Oh.
Spoiler alert, that'll be fucking shit. I don't want it.
The podcast?
No, well, both. you can't.
Is there anything else that we're going to...
Let's give people...
Any other content we're going to release and that people shouldn't listen to?
Well, how long have you got? Let's give people a little insight into what we think about Tommy Tuchel potentially becoming an England manager.
Right.
In one word, good or bad?
Well, you have to listen tomorrow.
Oh, there you go. See, ever the showman. I like that.
3 words. Me said Tommy Tuchel.
I have
You
another...
went as a Geordie Jar Jar Binks. You went really Geordie at the end of that.
Jar Jar Bunks. Jar Jar Bunks like.
I have another theory about another foreign manager who may well end up managing England.
Well, Marcus's wicked whispers.
More on that tomorrow.
And you know what? You have to pay to listen to it. No, you don't. You
You
don't.
don't. You just need to subscribe in your podcast app so you never miss an episode. Okay.
If you give me a 10, I'll tell you who it is
Right.
separately.
Okay.
Don't trust him and spend it on cigarettes.
Oh, I'm not going to do that.
Free
10,
kicks.
I wish.
Spend it on one cigarette.
Yeah. Raise those prices to help fund the economy.
Exactly.
And it's not fuel. At the moment, it is fund.
Yeah, after the break, we're going to find out why Vish hates the NHS.
Yeah. Back Britain, will you?
Oh, dear. Also...
I clapped for them.
Pardon?
I clapped for them. Go on.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, and what good did that do?
Their fault. Spend it wisely.
Right. So, yes, as I say, more England chat tomorrow, focusing on Lee Carsley and potential future England manager. Coming up after this, Scott McTominay and Billy Gilmore have inspired a new pizza. See you in a moment.
Yeah, I just don't play. Our players have got plenty of pseudo cream at home because they've had their asses slapped to them today. Fair play to Range Park. They were the better side by a mile. Best side we've played this season. Ruthless. I thought the centre forward 20 up top was absolutely magnificent. I wish I had one of him. At the moment, I've got 4 token gestures as a centre forward, so and not even 4 put together can resemble anything to do with him. So, but the only positive come out of that, I had a cracking pasty before the game. That was about it.
Well, back to the Football Ramble, everybody.
He's pre-written that.
That sensational gentleman, of course, is Horndean FC manager Michael Birmingham, talking after they lost 4-0 to Rains Park Vale. Surely he can't still be Horndean FC manager after saying all that.
I've got a few things to say on that. Well, that's great to hear a really, really proper Pompey accent in there, because Horndean's only a couple of miles north of Portsmouth.
Oh, yeah.
I used to go out with the girl from Horndean, actually, by the way, Peter.
The girl from Horndean.
And of course, the town was only called Dean before that.
She was terribly so mean.
It inspired the famous song that Peter's just recounted.
The girl from Horndean.
And I also would like to add that we're seeing more and more of these types of post-match interviews at this level, because all these teams are now getting their own social accounts. And the managers love to get a bit of that, don't they? So they want to be involved. And like you say, he's probably pre-written half of that.
Yeah, well, keep your eyes peeled for all that kind of stuff, good listeners, because we thank our friend of the Ramble, Jam Hands, for sending us that clip. You can become a friend of the Ramble too by heading over to patreon.com/Football Ramble. You'll get access to the Discord where you can chat with us and other Ramble listeners and get ad-free episodes of the Ramble up front and on the continent. And a reminder that if you want to get in touch with your stories, questions for the mailbag, or respond to anything at all, then email us, show@footballramble.com. That's show at footballramble.com. Right then, on to Croatia 2, Scotland 1. It's been 13 months since Scotland won a competitive game. This is now Scotland's longest run in competitive matches in their history, losing 6 and drawing 3 of their last 9. Vish, do you have any sympathies for our Scottish cousins?
I have lots of sympathies. I have also a very... I was going to call it a strange theory, but I'll just give it to you and you can decide. But if they hadn't qualified for the Euros, they wouldn't have had this record, because they wouldn't have tried to build up to the Euros by playing good teams. So they're a victim of their own success, and also it is really shit. They need to get that out. It's an absolute mess. Their only win in that time was against Gibraltar.
I actually watched that game, because that was...
And that's a derby game. It could go anywhere.
that was in the build-up to the Euros as well, playing good teams.
Yeah, well, they had to get some kind of confidence. Yeah, you're right. I mean, you've got to be...
That's literally it. So they played... Obviously, they played England before. So Spain were in their group. Then they played France, Netherlands, and then they were like, right, we need to sort this out. So they played Northern Ireland. They lost to Northern Ireland.
and then they beat Gibraltar 2-0 or something. And one of the goals was really late on, I think. But I would just add to that, Marcus, that Vish is absolutely right, of course, but another reason this has happened is because they were so good in the Nations League last time, got promoted, and now they find themselves in the group with Poland, Croatia and Portugal, who they play next. So it's not going to get any easier for them.
It's not going to get any easier, and just be careful what you wish for. If you want to go into the Nations League Group A and qualify for major tournaments, this is what's going to happen.
Game the system like England did.
Exactly, yeah. I know.
Can't embarrass yourself against Greece at home if you're not in League B.
Well, Scotland did open the scoring, which was nice to see, and then of course they had that last gasp equaliser ruled out just by VAR. Che Adams just offside. It was a sickener for the Scots.
The first goal was really encouraging for Scotland because they were really at it, and they pounced instantly on a Croatian defensive mistake, and you thought, okay, they're really up for this here.
But it felt like it lasted 4 minutes, because it did last 4 minutes.
It did last 4 minutes, and it was 1-1. I mean, Luka Modric did say Scotland were a tough nut to crack.
And he should know he looks like a bag of festive nuts.
He does a bit.
He does.
Would you take that as a compliment?
I think so. Nuts. He's played everybody, hasn't he?
Yeah, but I mean, it is basically like, they were a bit irritating, but inevitably we got there, guys.
I would kind of take it partly as a compliment if I hadn't seen Luka Modric's face at the end of the game when that Scotland equaliser was overturned, where all the other Croatian players kind of half
slightly
celebrated.
Relieved,
and he was just really pissed off in a way that his face said, "I can't believe we've come this close."
Why are we relying on VAR?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Dalic, the manager, said after the game, he said, obviously we got the 3 points, that's the main thing, blah, 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 blah. But he was basically like, sorry about that, everybody. That was a bit crap from us.
Yeah. Well, I think we obviously we're either going to talk about or we just have talked about the VAR check on the goal later on. But Che Adams had a really good chance just before then.
Yeah.
When he sort of tried to take it on his right and sort of flick it over, like sort of chip it over, when he could have just put his foot right through it at the first. And you sort of go, that's why Scotland aren't clinical, because they're not just taking chances like that or half chances like that.
But the thing is with Che Adams, obviously, like Clark almost by his own admission said during the Euros that he's a busybody up front. But he's not particularly clinical.
Yeah,
you don't really trust him.
He's like a number. He primarily plays number 9, but he likes dropping off. I remember
big clamour for Shanklin to play during that.
The
Hungary game in the Euros. I remember, of course.
There was.
I remember speaking to a Southampton fan a few years ago when he was in. I think it was Che Adams and Southampton's second season in the Premier League, and he was like, "If we get 10 goals from him." Brilliant! I'll take that. I'll take that today. First day of the season.
And it was really interesting, wasn't it, when he signed for Southampton? I remember when he signed for Southampton off the back of a really good season for Birmingham in the Championship, and you looked at the profile of him and you thought he's got a great chance of actually doing pretty well in the Premier League.
And he's not a bad player.
No, he's not. He's not. But here's the thing: he never scored goals in any kind of consistent way in the Premier League.
No.
As soon as Southampton went back down to the Championship, scored loads again, right? And he's in that kind of zone, isn't he? And now, to be fair though, he started the season pretty well at Torino, from what people tell me. He scored a few goals already. But
the Scots have taken over Serie A.
They have.
No, they
It's
have,
an invasion. It's a Scottish invasion. Like when all those British bands went to America in the 60s.
Just like that.
Yeah.
It's so similar. Unbelievably similar. Well, we move on then, gentlemen, because there's an Italian restaurant in Glasgow which created a new pizza inspired by Napoli's new signings, Scott McTominay and Billy Gilmore, of course.
I was disappointed to hear this, Marcus, because I was really hoping that in Naples they'd started one.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
The fact that it's back in Scotland is not as great.
He's a big Napoli fan, though.
Right, okay.
And he's been talking big.
There's a lot of Italians in Scotland, of course.
Yes, exactly.
Have you heard his accent?
It's a beauty.
It's stunning.
Is it?
It's a beautiful hybrid of Glaswegian and
it's what you want.
Italian.
It doesn't disappoint.
Someone described it as Glasweopolitan.
That's good. Did you see the name of the pizza? He's really sat up all night thinking this. The Gil McTominay.
Yeah,
brilliant.
I wonder if your accent kind of changed. If you're a dual speaker, like your Italian remains completely unmolested, but your English is very Glaswegian. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Kind of like,
oh yeah.
It can do. I think so. Yeah, it depends on the person, but it can.
Especially if you've learned English outside of Glasgow as well.
Outside of Glasgow.
Yeah.
Don't learn English in Glasgow.
Don't start there. Start there and eat your way out.
But I should say that the Gil McTominay pizza is topped with haggis and Italian meatballs and has a whiskey sauce.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a single meal that isn't improved by all of those things, but like haggis is just great on everything.
Yeah, but I love the fact that he was talking big, this guy. So he's obviously, the cameras are there, he's got the pizza, and you think, all right, here's his moment. And he said that, it's very exciting. He said, I love that the boys went there. And then he said, I remember as a 13 or 14-year-old lad when Napoli signed Diego Maradona, he said, it's as exciting as that. It's just like
where's his pizza, dickhead?
McTominay's not even starting games.
They named the stadium after him. What's he expecting?
He was like, I couldn't believe Man United sold him. Why not? They were trying to get rid of him all summer.
Yeah,
right?
of course. Napoli famously play at the Stadio Gil McTominay, don't they? So it makes sense.
Well, they do now.
Yeah.
But I did actually make a pizza in his honour as well. I was like, that's covered in pecorino.
Yeah, you think it is? Yeah.
But I mean, he also said, well, come the end of the season, I reckon I'll be putting on my kilt and I'll be walking around the streets of Napoli celebrating another Scudetto. It's just like,
he loves this guy. He's having a nice time, doesn't he?
Basically, I think it's great.
I feel like we're going to hear about him again later in the season.
He certainly hopes so.
He'll sort of try and repeat that success. He'll do an Antonio Conte pizza. It'll have no toppings on it, and then suddenly loads of toppings. You're like, how's that?
No, the
Sarri pizza, just cigarette butts.
The Conte pizza, if you eat it, it'll just make you throw up because you'll hate yourself.
Burns the shit out of your mouth. It assaults you. The pizza assaults you.
A big fist just
comes out of you like alien.
Oh dear. Well, yeah. So if you're in the Glasgow area, get down to this restaurant, which I don't have the name for, and get yourself a Gilman.
We've fallen into the trap, haven't we?
I think he's had enough PR out of us, hasn't he?
I think out of everybody, quite frankly. Yeah, but fair play to him. Fair play to him.
Boycott it. Throw stuff at it.
Don't
do that.
But,
buy a pizza, smear it on the wall.
Exactly. But the Scots are in danger of getting relegated back down to Group B, where they might be playing England next time round by the looks of it.
Yeah.
Why don't you do us an English pizza, mate?
There Now you're talking. Now you are talking.
What would that look like?
The all-day breakfast pizza.
Primula and baked beans.
Yeah, you don't need your tomato sauce. You've got the baked beans there.
True.
Doing a lot of the heavy lifting. Right, Iceland 2, Wales 2. Craig Bellamy became the first Wales manager to avoid defeat in each of his first 3 competitive matches.
Hard to think of a more depressing statistic than that, isn't it?
I'm trying to spin it.
Yeah.
He was very buoyant, though, after the game. He was saying how, look, I don't want to try and suggest that I'm really happy that we threw away a 2-0 defeat, but he was saying this is good experience for the players. This is, what did he say? He goes into the library in their minds kind of thing that you can access that and think, okay, I've been in this situation before, blah, 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 blah. So I think I'm liking Bellamy as Wales coach.
I was going to say exactly the same thing. I think he's making, in contrast to Carsley, which I'm not sure we go back to because he's interim manager, it's slightly different. But he is someone who clearly understands what the job entails from an off-the-pitch example, point of view.
He always has, though, hasn't he? He's always been...
I understood his role off the pitch?
No,
well,
not
off the pitch, but
you're not a golfer,
the way he
Craig.
talks about Welsh pride and the way he I have so many sort of Welsh friends who are just as Welsh as they come. Do you know what I mean? There's an intense pride.
You're half Welsh yourself,
half Welsh yourself. Intense pride of being part of that.
He never says that. You always say
I know,
of being part of that, and I think he speaks so beautifully about that experience, that lived experience. And I think he's a perfect. I don't know how good he is as a tactical manager. I think, but sometimes that can carry you through.
That's what I was going to say. So obviously, I mean, Steve Clarke. Scottish fans may not agree with Steve Clarke being there, but I think ultimately the results are going to govern what happens. But I do think, if you're Wales, I don't mean this in a patronising way, but you kind of understand the assignment if you're Wales. People, they want someone understandably who is Welsh, who's proud to be Welsh, who understands their role in where they are, who can get them fighting hard and become greater than the sum of their parts. In a way, I think when you're a nation in international football the size of Wales, the assignment on the pitch is often very, very hard because you're playing against teams better than you. But in terms of the mentality and the existential role you play as a team, it's pretty straightforward. And Bellamy can tap into that really easily. I think they are obviously competitive. They're getting stuck in a lot as well. And I think, Marcus, I agree with you. I think the early signs, the green shoots of Bellamy's tenure, for a number of different reasons, are actually really positive. And I like the way he handles himself in interviews afterwards. There's a lot of maturity there, I think.
I do as well. And I like him in a bomber jacket. Normally, I think managers should be
rocking it
or suit, but I think, Bella's...
I think he's taken a little bit of inspiration, a bit of inspo from Pep Guardiola with the old bomber jacket.
Could be.
I think he wears it better when he strolls to the edge of his technical area. He does it with both hands in his pocket, and you're like, he's going to nut someone.
Indeed. And
he's hiding his hands because he's going to nut someone.
I think that's it. I think with Bellamy, especially if he's wearing like white trainers and a bomber jacket, you think I've seen guys like that.
I've seen guys like that.
Do you know what I mean? When Guardiola wears it, I'm a bit like you've there's some sort of obligation.
You're cosplaying as a Craig Bellamy.
Exactly. And we've all done it.
Yeah, we have. You know what Pete was saying about the being tapped into the pride of the nation?
Yep.
I also think it helps positionally that Bellamy was a striker because and certainly the way he played football, because he would have a clear idea of what he feels is the best way to channel that.
Yes. You
channel that pride by attacking, by doing, by playing in quite a cavalier way. And the first half, Wales were just constantly, chucking men forward. They were playing raking through balls from their fullbacks were cutting in.
Well, Williams to Wilson was paid
glorious,
dividend.
yeah.
I mean, I love Harry Wilson as a player. He's a delightful player,
and he can play in that hole for Wales as well.
His touch for the first goal,
glorious. I mean, it's a shame actually that he didn't put the first one away because that touch. But then, of course, the way he took the second, and he's got that in his locker. But to try and get the best out of him, because for so long in the past, I was a bit like, there's other people obviously bigger profile, and I was just thinking, I want to see Wilson kind of given the keys really. But they've got their a bit of flair up front. I mean, Brendan Johnson just can't stop scoring goals for crying out loud.
Even Kiefer Moore played quite well.
But Moore has played well for Wales.
But in a different kind of way.
He's the Welsh Olivier Giroud.
There was a bit of that.
But I like what they've got up there. And I think you're right when you talk about the tactics. I mean, Iceland were playing a horrendously high line, which they were quite exposed. The thing for Bellamy, and obviously he's new to the job and so on and so forth. But the thing is, when Iceland come roaring back, how do you then turn the tide of a game? And I think that again, he spoke about it in the correct way. He's saying, okay, this has given us more experience. And he's absolutely right, because, Iceland aren't a bad side, and Bellamy himself said he was a big fan of theirs and kind of what they've done. But you look at the substitutions. I mean, he waited to the 76th minute before he made a couple.
He didn't change anyone in midfield either to give himself a bit more control.
Indeed, and by then the game was really like they were kind of hanging on slightly for a point. So these are the experiences that he's a young manager, he's fairly sort of green, he'll learn from. I mean, you also get to give a little bit of, I know we moan often in the summer when it's at hot temperatures, but I mean, the game was played in minus temperatures. I know it's not particularly warm Ireland where we live at the
See the Northern Lights about up there, apparently.
Apparently you could see them in London even.
Could have been distracting. You can't see anything in London, it's too bright, isn't it?
Apparently so.
You could in South London, yeah.
Well, yeah, you got to
How
go
do you
south.
know?
Because people were posting photos of it.
You haven't been anywhere near South London. I'm South London. Last time you were in South London was come for dinner with me.
He goes there all the time, he just doesn't tell you.
Didn't know where he
I
was.
was there on Friday, yeah.
All right, showing off.
He's always in Ladywell, threatening people. I'm going to get
All
you.
I'm saying is the light pollution makes it very difficult to see the spectacular nature of the Northern Lights in their full glory.
Okay, well, maybe that's why there was a lot of Welsh people in Iceland. I mean, over 1,000 of the 5,000 fans in the stadium were Welsh.
Great stuff.
Buoyed by the lights and also by Craig Bellamy.
Maybe that's why Iceland were caught out so often with those balls over the top, because they'd look up and
Yeah.
ooh, look at that, and
Yeah.
they'd let them through.
Maybe the Wales fans thought Craig Bellamy is our Northern Light.
He's certainly a volcano.
Ooh.
Could erupt everywhere.
That's probably why he's so statesman-like at the moment.
Certainly grounded a few flights in his time, I would have thought.
Well, they didn't have to leave Wales to see the Northern Lights because they were visible in Wales during the match.
Oh, dude, sorry. I thought they were visible in Iceland during the match, but they're actually visible in Wales as well.
As well.
God, they're serving everyone.
Spreading themselves a bit thin, if you ask me.
Well, they've got to be careful because otherwise
Fix the congestion, innit, for the Northern Lights?
Otherwise they'll be called the Southern Lights, Peter.
It's true.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then Vish will be involved.
Luke just pointed at me and went, there are Southern Lights.
Australis Borealis in the southern hemisphere, different to the Aurora Borealis.
You've just made that up.
I haven't. You're going to get hammered on
I'm
social.
a bored
You're going to
DLS
get
right
hammered
now.
on social for your lack of education there.
Again.
It's waste on the Australians.
There's no such thing as Southern or Northern Lights. It's just some laser pens. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's a
Why can't we just enjoy them both?
It's
The great lights on both sides, that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
But why are the Northern Lights trying to take away the limelight, if you will, from the Southern Lights?
Right.
I heard it's all just actually a gigantic pizza being made by a Glaswegian.
Yeah.
My goodness.
I think
That's a
I think
stretch,
it's
Luke. That is a
I think it's the Democrats affecting the weather.
Could be.
I think no one in the southern cosmos talks to each other.
That's
Yeah,
true.
exactly.
Okay, are we ready to move on?
Yeah, I think we have been for
You
some
were getting involved 5 minutes ago.
I know,
I don't like
changes
this. I'm not
Wait,
having this.
Peter, 5 minutes ago.
Be fun. Be fun, but be fun like up to a point.
Wait, be fun, but be fun by being disciplined.
Be disciplined. That's what I was trying to grab at.
He can't even remember a quote. He just does a general set of words at me.
Are you
to
not
say things.
entertained?
There we are. I think we are. Coming up after this, do Maurizio Pochettino's lemons taste sweet stateside? Listen to find out. Hello, everybody. Before we get to Maurizio Pochettino, I want to talk about Kylian Mbappe and France. It's been reported that Kylian Mbappe was filmed visiting a nightclub in Stockholm.
Legend.
On the same evening that France beat Israel 4-1. Now, Mbappe, of course, missed this international break. We were talking about this on the show in the same way we were saying that, or in the same conversation we were saying perhaps Harry Kane should take a leaf out of his book because he's been injured for Bayern. England, could give Watkins a chance or something like that. Blah, 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 blah. But Mbappe was given the time off by Deschamps, and Deschamps said, I want him to get 100% fit and also give his mind a bit of a rest. He's played a lot of football, blah, de, blah, de, blah. Mbappe has been criticised in France for missing this international break because he was available for Real Madrid last week. Now, Mbappe is saying that he's still getting back to fitness after a hamstring injury and so on and so forth. There have been suggestions in France that Mbappe might have this deal with the French side that he thinks, I only want to play in the big games now. Right. He hasn't said that. Nobody of any sort of weight or nobody.
There's a lot of tittle-tattle, isn't there?
A lot of
in France, in the old tabloids, isn't there? More than we get over here.
Do you think more? Bloody hell.
But a lot of it's been Wesley Fofana, Aurelien Tchouameni and Jude Bellingham have all defended Mbappe when they've been asked about this over the last day or two, saying that you know, he can only play so many games. He relaxes in his own way. This is too much intrusion into him.
Yeah.
Into
Did the
his
French
life.
go all the way to Finland to ask Jude Bellingham this? Right, we're going to get him somewhere.
Well, he went all the way to Sweden.
Bellingham was asked about it because they played together at Real Madrid.
Sure.
In the press conference, I think before or after the game against Finland, I think. Which is a weird thing to ask.
No, but that's what I mean, though. Is that a Frenchman go all the way to Finland?
I guess so. I guess so. So I guess they must have. But anyway, people love using the old visiting a nightclub, don't they? To kind of in a pejorative way. And what they're trying to imply, obviously, in these kind of media outlets, they're trying to imply that he is
mega dancing.
They're trying to put an image in people's minds of he's falling all over the place in the bar, getting pissed, down in shots. Actually, most, if not all, top footballers live an incredibly disciplined life. And if he wants to go to a nightclub, no mention of a time or whatever, sitting around, just hanging out with his friends. I mean, I don't know what's the problem.
And in
really.
Stockholm, it's still late at like 2 a.m. So how does he know? He thought it was out the afternoon.
Yeah, I understand.
I've done it again. It's 7.
Got a bit confused.
We've all been there, haven't we, Vish?
Yeah.
I have in Stockholm.
I understand what you're saying. Look, however, it's a very silly thing for him to do.
It's not. It's really
just
really
living
not.
his life. You're a man who just doesn't go to enough nightclubs.
Yeah.
Well,
also, you got to remember, Luke mentioned it there. A lot of these footballers go to these places and generally have a terrible time because they're sat in VIP doing fuck all.
Yeah, that's why it's a silly thing to do.
And also the idea that like, he's going to be more tired than playing a game of football.
Yeah.
Well, I think that
Right, we're playing Candy for 15 songs in a row, and you've got to dance to every single version.
No, but I suppose some people, in the interest of balance, some people are thinking, okay, if he's wanting to regain fitness and hamstring injury and so on and so forth, why then?
Well, you can't sit down.
No. If he was in a nightclub in Madrid, that would be a bit different because he can walk home or get a taxi.
They got freedom. You forget because you voted against it, but they've got freedom of movement over there. It's so much easier now.
Pop in your private jet. What was it? 2 hours and you're there.
But you've got to be very
You
careful.
don't have to queue up at Dover anymore.
Hang on. You've got to be careful deciding on behalf of someone else how they get to spend their free time. You have to be careful on that. If he's going out for a weekend away with his girlfriend or his wife or whatever, or with his friends, to Stockholm because he's got the weekend off, because his manager's given him the weekend off, unless there's any provisos been put on that free time, which we don't know. Again, there's so much we don't know about this story.
No Stockholm nightclubs.
He's a young man who's going about his life,
even if he was an old man.
And the thing is as well, the undercurrent to all of this is something that keeps coming up again and again now, and we talked about it late last week. It's the idea that if you want players to play this amount of football, these issues are going to come up as long as it isn't resolved in a fully organised fashion. Players are going to start to say, I'm not playing. I can't play. I've played too much. And then if
that's essentially what's going on here.
It's just not realistic for his club manager or his international manager to say, okay, if you're not going to play because you need to rest, that's fine, but you're not allowed to leave the house. They can't say that. So we have to understand that
city limits.
Tabloid media are going to want to make a big deal out of this because it's a young man out there potentially enjoying himself. But what is free time if it's not to be enjoying yourself, to unwind, to go out there and do what you want to do?
Meet a lady or a man.
Yeah.
Meet anyone. Meet everyone.
What are you doing?
I don't know. I don't know.
So fine. I understand all that, and I am in agreement. I don't care if he was in. I don't care if Harry Kane said the same thing and then he was boogieing away.
Well, Harry Kane probably would injure himself.
True.
Yeah.
But
where's Charlie taking me now?
But he is one of
blindfolded.
Charlie Kane was spotted in a harvester.
He's one of, if not the most high-profile footballers in the world.
As long as it's not getting taken.
What does he expect? So I think, to quote Ian Botham, I think the problem here is getting caught.
Always quote Ian Botham.
The English cricket.
Always
quote beefy.
Yeah, whatever you can.
And again, to quote...
What are you thinking?
Give a bit of context for those.
No way. Find it out yourself, you lazy bastard.
He posted a picture of his knob on Twitter and said he was hacked.
Was it his knob or was it a little chip
Cock and balls. Cock and balls.
Yeah. He clearly just shaved them as well.
Freshly shaved.
Because he heard that people do that now.
Right. So answer the question. What are you thinking?
Yeah. What are you thinking?
What did you think? What did you think when you saw that picture?
Chair of Durham.
Yeah.
One of our greatest all-rounders.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Well, Wesley Fofana said about Mbappe and possibly about Beefy as well. People can do what they want with their free time. He does what he wants.
Shave what you want.
think that from time to time the media go a little too far. I don't think they went far enough with Beefy, quite frankly.
To be serious, for my part, I appreciate Luke's been serious. But I suppose it's set against the fact that they've lost Antoine Griezmann, who's retired, who was a very popular figure among French, in French football, full stop. And it feels like a lot of France fans are like, that's a huge shame. He did so many different roles for us. Did we value him enough? And then there's this thing that's put in the press ultimately about Mbappe taking the piss, and it's like, why are we moving heaven and earth for this bloke, but this guy's retired early, and so set against each other. I think it's not a particularly healthy time in the French football ecosystem.
Should have worn that mask to the club, shouldn't he?
The turtle one.
Yeah.
No, the broken nose mask.
It's Michelangelo.
They did win 4-1 though, lest we forget. Speaking of winning football matches, Mauricio Pochettino won his first game in charge of the US of A, beating Panama 2-0. Revenge, Pete Donaldson, for the US against those Panamanian slugs.
Those Panamaniacs.
Yes.
I mean, they probably have quite deep history with them, don't they?
Yeah. Great peppers.
Yes. Well, from your town of Hartlepool, they know people. One
it's good,
particular
but one
individual.
particular famous individual headed on down there.
I like that they arranged a friendly against Panama because that was the nadir of the last manager's reign.
Because they were beaten 2-1, weren't they? And that was
Was that kind of set up before this whole thing happened? I mean, that's quite amusing if they did do that. Just to sort of settle a weird score.
Yeah, Pochettino, he's not been there long. He's like, get the Panamanians back.
Do you think that's why
they did us in the Copa America?
It is how he got the job. It was like, why do you want it? It's like, to get revenge for the USA. Brilliant, we're in.
Yeah.
Come on.
Oh, man.
I am a real American.
Now you're talking.
Yeah.
I love this from Tim Ream, who said that Pochettino has been taking 2-hour training sessions, which is the longest he has ever had in his 14 years playing with the national team.
Amazing admission. Amazing admission.
Is that a dig?
Don't say that out loud.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Although, the training sessions...
Jurgen wasn't there, was he?
No.
Yeah, exactly.
He did 45 minutes at a time because he wouldn't pay for the premium Zoom.
To be fair, Jurgen was there a lot way before Zoom and all that.
True.
The Zoom revolution.
Yeah.
But your point is one that stands.
Thanks,
I think. Yeah. I mean, I think that was the great thing, though. If you were a player for the US and Klinsmann was in charge, if you were a bit fed up, just close the laptop and you can go about your business.
Oh, my webcam's gone on the internet.
But I think also there was talk that Pochettino's training sessions, we know, are quite intense.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I mean,
it's going to be interesting how that works at the international level because he clearly
in the heat of the summer of North America as well.
Dealing with injured players.
But also, if you are somebody who manages every day, you can control a lot of stuff around what the players are doing. If he's going to do these kind of intense training sessions, and maybe, as I said before, I think there's a certain element, certainly among the US men's national team fans, that these players are higher profile, potentially more talented than they've ever been, and it's gone to their head a bit, and actually they haven't really achieved anything. So Pochettino coming in, it's a big easy win for him, but he does like to coach in that way anyway. But it's going to be totally pointless if he gets them for X amount of camps a year, and then as soon as they go back to their clubs, they're training in a completely different way anyway. So maybe he's just sort of setting his stall out for his first camp, saying this is how I'm going to be doing things.
Well, look at how Wales fall off after 70 minutes under Craig Bellamy. He wants this similar sort of intensity in matches and also in the training and stuff. You sometimes can't do that because the players are coming off. Yeah, the players are coming off some pretty hefty amount of matches.
Are you basing that Wales thing on the Iceland game alone?
Well, on a few of the matches, they've kind of fallen off a little bit from what I've seen.
Pete is half Welsh.
I'm half Welsh.
Well, I can't argue.
I had one eye on it.
Top half or bottom half?
Yeah, just the hair. Every bit of hair on it as well.
It was particularly bad in the game against Slovakia, wasn't it? Where they trailed off badly after being 3-0 down after 60 minutes.
Yeah.
So
they ended up losing 12-0.
4-0. Yeah. I think he won the last minute, to be fair.
US fans have already coined the term Poch ball.
Have they coined it though?
Yeah, they haven't coined anything.
Everything something ball, Vish ball, Pete's balls. What? So I don't know.
Beefy's balls.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
can you show them?
Beefy ball. Let's come back to England.
What kind of cricket do you play, Beefy? Beefy ball. What does it look like? Just get me nuts out.
What does it look like? Look on Twitter.
That's basically what he did as a player.
That's basically that incident with Beefy on Twitter is why Elon Musk had to change its name to X.
Is that right?
He's like, we'll never recover from this from a PR point of view.
Yeah, that's a good point. That is a bloody good point. Well, let's come all the way back to England because I want to talk about Bruce Ball. No, not actual Bruce Ball. Steve Bruce. He's been been named League One Manager of the Month for September. Blackpool's only loss in the month was against Sheffield Wednesday in the League Cup. Come on, you can't keep a good man down.
Well, we said it was kind of below his level a little bit, and so it has proven thus far.
Well, I just think it's nice that people are appreciating Bruce Ball, having so many Newcastle fans derided it when he was there.
Chased him out of the club.
Yeah.
Well,
they haven't won either of their games in October, by the way.
hounded him out.
Yeah, but he wasn't manager of that month.
No.
There's still plenty of October left.
I'll tell you what,
I'm basically halfway through October.
I'll tell you what I bloody love, right? Because Blackpool currently sit in mid-table in League One.
Come on.
I'd love him to steer them to promotion.
And Newcastle get relegated.
Back-to-back promotion. Could he line himself up for the Newcastle job? Hey?
All right, I'm back.
Ask away.
Away then.
I've done 1,200 games.
Beckoned, was I?
Pete, do you remember when we tried to? Do you remember when we tried to get you to do a tribute to Steve Bruce after he left?
Right.
And you said he's a little fatty and I never wanted him here.
I don't think I said that. I think I was quoting somebody.
No, he said.
Did I say that?
He's a little
I didn't
fatty.
say
I
it,
don't want him here.
fatty.
Because I
wouldn't have said
the
little
dust is
fatty.
the dust is settled now. The dust is settled now. You can look back at it like properly, like objectively.
Right.
What do you think? Under some difficult circumstances, did he do all right? You said he's a little fatty and I never wanted him there.
I wouldn't have said that. I was quoting.
Yeah, who else could you possibly be quoting? I was quoting fucking Victor Hugo. I was quoting a fucking great mind.
Peter, you said it. Don't make us roll the tape.
All right.
Oh, okay.
Fine.
But
So
I'm
how do you feel
happy.
about Blackpool, Peter?
How do I feel about what?
You don't care, do you?
I don't care.
You said he's doing well.
It's just good to see him away from Newcastle United.
He's got his first trophy, hasn't he?
He's got his manager of the month. Well, I think a lot of the Blackpool fans are sort of quite heartened by the fact that he brought all of his coaching staff in.
Of course he did.
In with him for the photograph for the manager of the month. I mean, he's not getting October, let's make that very clear, but...
Well, yeah, still...
Halloween.
Premier League Manager of the Month in April 2021, mate.
He was, yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
Manager Newcastle.
Do you know who was Player of the Month that month, Marcus?
Oh, he got the Alma on it.
One of your lads.
Was it really?
Jesse Lingard.
Lovely old job.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, we want to finish the show, don't we, by talking about the FA Cup. Aldershot scored a last-minute winner to beat Bath City 2-1. That means that Jerry Gills, Bath City, and their 80-year-old assistant manager, or 81-year-old assistant manager, Jim Barron, failed to reach the first round proper.
Shame. It's a real shame for them.
It is.
I'd love to have
fine
seen
ramble trope that.
If they had got to the third round, I cannot imagine how much he would have been patronised by the BBC. You know what I mean?
Oh, dear.
We'll have our turn first, thank you.
Yeah. So
what was it like playing against Pelé?
I know.
That's what I'd ask.
Well, there we are, everybody. Thank you very much for listening to the Football Ramble, part of the Acast Creator Network. Make sure you join Luke and me tomorrow, where we assess...
Me, Sir Marcus Vella.
Well, we assess whether Lee Carsley has a future as England manager, or indeed will Jar Jar Binks get the
bikini
job.
model.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. What have you got with that?
No, I just didn't get there.
You didn't try, did you?
I didn't try. I'm so sorry.
Get on the dark web, you dirty little...
Distracted by Beefy on Twitter.
Get on the dark web, you little rotter.
Is that an Italian meatball? From the McTominay, whatever it was, pizza.
The beefy pizza.
Beefy pizza.
Here he comes.
Have you just put tomato sauce in your cock, Beefy? It's a beefy pizza.
Beefy serves it.
He's a knight of the realm and he's still involved with English cricket. Let's stop it.
No, fuck
Why
it.
are you defending him?
I don't
Friend
know.
of Beefy.
I love it. Men of the bat stick together.
His nuts were sticking together.
Yeah.
Very sweaty, wasn't it?
Follow us on X, TikTok and Instagram at Football
I
Ramble.
know you're not going to put aftershave there, but talcum powder at least.
Yeah.
What are you thinking? Wet wipe?
Subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast.
Yeah. Imagine people wanting to subscribe to this after that.
This is a shame, isn't it?
Yeah. Fucking hell.
Can we take this stuff out for the Patreoners?
People do that.
No, keep this in for the Patreon.
They know what they've signed up for. Thank you, Luke.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pete.
Farewell.
Thank you, Vish.
Cheers.
And thank you, Beefy.
Cheers for watching another fantastic clip from the Football Ramble podcast. Make sure you click like on this video and subscribe to the channel, which means you will not miss a single upload.